Now then, you lovely lot, thanks for joining me today. My name's Emma and this is the 10-minute quilter, and on today's video we're going to start a new mini-series looking at machine binding. Have you had a go? Have you done it before? Lots of different methods out there, so we're going to work our way through some of them and see if we can find any success with them or whether they're all a little bit wonky. First of all, what do you think of my new setup? Do you like it? It's a bit different, isn't it? If I'm honest, I went for a bike ride this morning and I've got a new bike seat. And so anybody who's had a new bike seat and then does 13 miles on it will understand my discomfort. So it's actually easier to stand than it is to sit at the minute, which is not good, is it? But there we go. Right, so all of these lovely quilt tops that I've been finishing are all going to start piling up, and if I was to sit and do all of these by hand, which is my preferred method, is to stitch it down, turn it to the back and then to sit and stitch it by hand. If I was to do that with each of those, I think I'd be there forever and a day. So I've decided that we'll use this as a little bit of research, if you like, and we're going to machine bind these in different methods to see which one I can actually get to grips with. Haven't had much success with it in the past, I will admit, and the take that I've got from the videos online is that it's a technique that is great for finishing, it's great for getting them done, but it's not one that's going to win you any prizes in a competition. So that's fine, I'm okay with that. So I've got my lovely jelly roll quilt here today, which is still not finished. I know, but this is the aim. I'm going to get it done today. This is quite an old one that's been sat around, and I've mentioned it on a previous video. And I quilted it with a pantograph, which was Maureen's Curls and Swirls, which I purchased through Urban Elements, and it's all trimmed, ready to go. So what I have done is to try and work out how much binding I'm actually going to need to go all the way around this quilt. So what I actually did was to measure all the way around. I measured all the four sides. I added it all together, and then I divided that by 40, which is sort of an average width of your fabric. I stick with 40 because it's just easier. So divide that number by 40, which then tells me how many cuts of fabric I'm going to need, which rounded up was 6 cuts. And I then times that, I multiplied that by 2.5, which is going to be the width of my binding, which then told me how much fabric I will need to use to get my binding all the way round. Now, I don't do bias binding because this is all straight edges, so I just cut it the width of the fabric and join the strips together, which is what we're going to work our way through. Right, so I'm ready to cut my binding strips, and I thought today I would give this ruler a go, which I have not used before. This is a Creative Grids strip ruler, and I don't know if you can see, but it's got gaps through it, and it's meant to be a lot easier for cutting strips of fabric. So I thought I would give that a go and see how I get on with it. It's called the Stripology ruler, designed by, I haven't got my glasses on, but Gudrun Erler, I think, but it's Creative Grids anyway. So we're going to give that a try and see how we get on. So it's got lots of lines and markings on it, and I think, not having used one before, I personally think I'm going to go from the right hand side. I don't know if that's the right way to do it or not, but there we go. And I'm going to just trim off this right hand edge to neaten it, and I'm just finding a line along the fold of my fabric. I folded it so I'm actually cutting through 4 layers of fabric, and I'm just going to, like I say, just trim off and neaten that right hand side. So the rotary cutter just slots into the ruler like that, and you push forward, off. Now I need to cut from that point 2.5 inches, and the ruler tells me that if I want a 2.5 inch cut, I just need to cut where the squares are. So there's one square there that I've just cut, and I'm going to come back to this one and cut through this next square like that. And hopefully when we take that off, you'll see that I haven't quite gone through that end bit there, but that's fine. I think that's 6 cuts and my little scrap bit that will go in the bin. So that was fairly easy, wasn't it? I quite like that. I'm going to open my strips up and I'm going to join them together. So I'm going to start with one going horizontal, and my next one will go vertical like that. I can put a pin in it if I like, but I'm then going to stitch from this corner to this corner here on my machine, so that when I open it up, I get a nice diagonal join like that. Right, so there's all my binding strips all sewn together and pressed in half, wrong sides together. Not that you can tell because it's plain, but they're all pressed in half, ready to go. So I'm now going to take this to the machine and I'm going to attach it to the front of my quilt, and I'm going to start a little way in from a corner because I don't want to start on a corner. I want to start part way up so I don't have any joining to do on the corner. And I'm going to do a continuous binding all the way round the outside of my quilt. So I've got an adjustable table actually. This is a horn table, and you can just you turn the handle on the side and it goes up and down, which is really handy. You can get hydraulic lift ones, you know, where you just push a button and it does it for you automatically, but they cost a little bit more, so I'm quite happy with this one for now. So I've got my binding on all the way round onto the front of my quilt. So I'm now going to take it to the ironing board and I'm going to give it a press just to make sure that that binding is sitting nicely on the front of the quilt. Then I'm going to roll it to the back like that, and I'm probably going to clip it just to keep it in place. But then I'm going to bring it back to the machine and I'm going to stitch in the ditch of that seam and go all the way round, hopefully catching the back of the quilt as well at the same time. Okay, so I've rolled it to the back. I've tried to make sure that I've got a bit on the back that will be covered by my stitching. I've slowed my machine down and we're going to stitch right in the ditch of that seam, nice and steady and slowly all the way around, and let's hope that we catch the back. Okay, all done. Quick slurp of coffee. Let's put that down there. Okay, just to recap, we attached the binding to the front of the quilt and I then turned it to the back. I gave it a little bit of a press and I then stitched in the ditch to secure it from the back like so. It looks nice and neat from the front. I do like it from the front, it looks nice. Because the stitching is in the ditch, you don't really see anything. It's quick. Got it done in an afternoon, which is always a winner. Yeah, and it's okay. Cons, okay. There are a couple, but I think some of that might be my fault. So, not always great on the back, a little bit wavy. I'll put some pictures in so that you can see. And there are a couple of places where I missed, by stitching in the ditch, I missed catching the binding at the back. Now, when I put it on, I said I was going to do a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Well, I quickly realised that if I wanted a decent fold over the back, that 3/8 wasn't going to work, so I adjusted it to 1/4 of an inch, which then gives you enough to catch down at the back. But there are, like I say, there are a couple of places where I've missed it, so I am going to have to go back and redo those bits. I think pressing it would make a difference. So once you've rolled it over to the back, give it a good press in place so that you know it's well turned over and you've got a press so it stays in place a little bit better. I just pinned it as I went along, which is why I think I missed a few places. And I think pressing it would also help with the corner. There's a pin in that one because when I did it, I missed. I didn't quite catch the back, so I'm going to have to go back and redo that, which is fine. I can do that. That's not a problem. I used the thread that I had in the machine, which was a grey, which looks fine from the front. But I think if I was going to do it again, I would perhaps use my bobbin thread and make it the same as the binding, so it's not quite so obvious, which I think would work better. It's I think it's a technique that I would need to practice a little bit, but I think it's worked. I think it's worked quite well, and it's a technique that I would definitely have another go at, and I would spend a little bit more time in my prep. Once I've attached it to the front, I would be a little bit more particular about it, and I think it would work much better as a result of that. However, I have a finished quilt. Well, nearly, because I've just got to go back and complete those bits I missed. But yeah, it's pretty much done. So yay! I've got one finished. So that's quite good, isn't it? So, have you had a go at this method? Let me know in the comments down below whether this is a method that you've done and whether you liked it, whether it worked for you, any top tips, anything like that. Then pop those down in the comments for me. And perhaps if you haven't had a go, perhaps you consider having a go, and also again let me know how you get on. So yeah, I like that one. I also like this. This was a success, I think. This is the Creative Grids ruler. Again, I would make use of that. I enjoyed that. It made cutting a lot easier on my hands, so that's great. Right, so I think that's it for this week. Join me on my next video when I'm going to talk through my entry to the Festival of Quilts 2025, and I think that will come out, I think that's the week of Festival of Quilts, so I will probably record it before I go and schedule it to come up whilst I'm away. But if you are going up to Festival, do make sure you reach out and say hello, won't you? It'd be lovely to see any of you that are going. And thanks ever so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, please do give me a thumbs up, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care. Bye. Going back to my coffee.